Hey, this is Becca Spangler.
Cheyenne Howard.
Nathan Simbeck.
And Justin Houston.
And Taryn Robinson. And this is Teaching Boys Who Struggle in School by Kathleen Palmer Cleveland. Basically, this book is about boys who struggle in school. And the author is talking about how it's not a gender-wide problem that it's not just boys, it's more about how do we target those boys who do struggle without hindering all the successful learners and the successful boy learners. The first thing we want to talk about is the 4 clues that the reasons why boys might struggle in school. The first one is the influence of non-academic factors on academic success, which is about social confidence and their attitudes about self-and learning, and their access to support systems. The second clue is factors contributing to the experience of school. So like the type and quality of their interactions. So like if they have good interactions with their friends, but then bad interactions with their teachers, then they're not going to want to be in school because that's a bad experience of school. Third clue is how competence can enhance persistence. And this is talking more about literacy and how literacy skills are needed in every area. So if there isn't competence, do boys become less persistent to acquire them? And the fourth clue is how a classroom's physical arrangement impacts a learner's success in it. So the lighting, the seating arrangement, room arrangement, and is there a better way to do it to allow boys to learn better?
Okay. Well, as far as the first clue, the influence of non-academic factors on academic success, I think that's a real big one for guys, because I think it's just
All you see is female teachers, for at least in the elementary education,
right,
for the most part.
Right.
I also think family can be a huge factor, and if the student has a horrible morning at home, they're going to take that issues into school and not pay attention and fail a test, all because of what happened at home with his mom.
And then as far as just see here with social confidence, just having that confidence about yourself. And I was saying I think that's a real big issue with guys, as far as just guys have a good pride issue thing. And so just make yourself social, and being confident in the social world is, I ain't saying it's not hard for girls, but it could be a big struggle for guys, just because you always want to be the top dog kind of as a guy, and you always want to be looked at as popular and stuff like that. And so those non-academic factors, like you say, family, we all struggle with things at home, both genders, and so you really gotta pay attention to those things.
Something that you talked about earlier was the relation between competence and persistence, as it pertains to literacy skills. In the article I read, Why Boys Aren't Learning, they talked about male-led reading groups. I know that's something that I didn't see a lot of in elementary education, and it's something that I've always struggled with, is literacy learning and literacy skills. And I know if I was held accountable by maybe my father, my parents more, or just any male figure in school, it would have helped me out a lot, because I didn't have that in school. And my parents were like, don't worry, you don't have to read, go outside and play, whatever it was. They didn't encourage me to do that stuff. And I think if I'd have had a male role model at a younger age that encouraged me to be better in my literacy skills, it would have definitely benefited me in the long haul as far as my education goes.
I think with along the lines of that, and then the experience of the school, one of my articles was about how beneficial separating the genders in the classroom is. So one math class is only boys in the classroom, and girls is in a different period. And there was a lot of success with the separate classrooms, because the boys could actually pay attention. They didn't feel like they had to try harder in front of the girls. But then also the teacher was more like joking with them, and she knew how to talk to just boys in the room besides boys and girls.
And setting an atmosphere too. It talks about like how you arrange the room and how lighting and like seating people even beside each other, especially at younger age groups and things like that. Like how you arrange a classroom, how you organize groups and group settings. That really affects like how all the students learn, but especially boys because of like not feeling like they have to be better than the other boys in their group or impress another girl in their group, and just organizing things that are make sense to the classroom. But also one of the articles that I read with PBS was a Q&A, and it was talking about how we mentioned earlier, like most younger age, especially high school, is dominated by female professors, like teachers. And it even talks about here that in the last 3 years that medical schools have started giving more women accepting more women than men, and soon medicine is also going to be a female-dominated profession. And it was just talking about how like these professions that are require a lot of determination and effort and extensive schooling, such as education and medical professions, that boys are not going into those professions because they don't feel like they can succeed at the lower level of school. So it talks about how to motivate those, and we talk about those in the book. But how to motivate those students and how to strategize your teaching skills to them and to cater to them as well.
I think that's really important because, boys have this pride issue and there's this atmosphere problem. It's not cool to try hard for boys. It's
Right.
not
Exactly.
cool to be a nerd, for lack of a better word, and try hard and compete in the classroom and things like that. And I think that's real important that you set the standard and you set the tone to making learning fun and making it relatable to all kids. I may be getting ahead of myself as far as our talk goes, but I think that's really important, that to let kids know that trying hard is cool,
Yeah.
and personal growth is just going to benefit them.
And then one of my articles, like that you say that, one of my articles said, the old saying, no boys will be boys. And and that's how it kind of is in school. You kind of let the guys just get away with stuff instead of holding them accountable as those guys. And so you just gotta kind of tighten up on them and just remind them that that people's there and people care, and so they got to give the best effort. So
Well, there's we could do better as educators to cater that boys will be boys thing by, in my article here it says how to make school better for boys is having competition, games, debates, and making the classroom more active, so these kids are more engaged. I think that's really important. It definitely helped me. I remember when I was in middle school, my teacher brought like a little mini basketball goal and a football and a target, and if you got this question right or you spelled this word correctly, you got to go shoot the basketball into the hoop or
Right.
throw the football at the target. And that made me want to try harder in the classroom because I wanted to do that. I think if you get creative as an educator in those types of areas, it's going to benefit those kids because, like you said, you're starting to see more females dominating fields like medicine and things like that. And it may be just because these boys are just getting less engaged in the classroom.
I also think like how the classroom is arranged can really benefit them, because if the classroom, like all the desks are in neat rows and like there's no way that they can move around, I feel like that's gonna like hinder them from learning. Because in one of my classes in middle school and high school, well, a lot of them, we were told that we can, if we need to get up and walk for a minute while the teacher is teaching, we are allowed to do that. So I feel like the freedom for the guys to actually like move around for a little bit, or stand, or help the teacher write on the board, that could be trying to get them into the learning.
I think also, as like most of us in the education department, or most people in education right now are women, so like this is an important concept for us to learn as well, because we have to cater to these boys that are going to be in our classroom. Because for me, school wasn't that way. Like I don't understand that as a female. I don't understand like not having neat rows sometimes and things like that. But altering our thinking, as like an overarching concept of this book, is altering our thinking to how we can help the boys and girls in our classroom but the ones who struggle the most. Because, like, for example, my brother, he and I are very different in our school experiences, but him especially, he is very much on top of his schoolwork. He's very dedicated to his work, but his teachers have had to give him time to walk around the classroom if he gets bored, or because he is so intelligent and, you know, he will do his work and be done, or just not feel motivated to do the rest of his work that he could do and just sit or sleep often. And so, or talk, and that would be distracting other people. So, you know, teachers in his past have had to let him walk around the classroom or go get a drink of water to move around or do something, or go interact with a different group in a different part of the classroom, getting up, moving, rather than just sitting the same place for 1.5 blocks that are longer than the classes that we're in right now.
And then to go along with the whole notion that, you know, struggling boys, you know, they see school as in a negative light, and they look at it with just a negative attitude, and just, you know, think school isn't cool at all. So with that, I like what she wrote with the 4 little points right here about with the new direction with replace, reconnect, rebuild, and reduce. And the first one with replace, she's talking about replacing negative attitudes about learning with productive perspectives about the role of risk. And in Sprint, she's got even in failure as a necessary and valued part of the learning process. And I think that first one is big. I know we can probably elaborate on that some more, but I'm gonna talk about that first one. And I like that she got the even in failure, because failure is devastating to a kid, and then get along to a struggling boy, you know, just talking about our stuff, you know, it can be devastating. So just reminding them that even in failure, you know, it's a chance to learn, and it's a chance to grow and better yourself as a person. But all it takes is just that attitude change on school, and that's big right there. If you come into school already with a negative attitude, I mean, that's just gonna make the day go like that anyway. You know, it's gonna be a negative day, and even if it is a good day, you're gonna see it in that negative light. So you just gotta be able to turn those perspectives around and replace those negative attitudes with positive ones.
I think you gotta care about wanting to teach young men and boys as well. You know, whatever your teaching philosophy is, you know, you're a coach. You want, at the end of the day, you want your young men, you want these boys to be better husbands, fathers, and citizens in their community. And I think if you taught every boy that you had in your class as if that boy was going to be your future son-in-law, you would impart things into their life that are so valuable. And at the end of the day, it's all about connecting with them and having a relationship. And I hear people all the time, it's all about relationships. I never hear them talk about what that entails. They got to know you care about them. Right. If they know that you care about them, you open up their mind, and they're open to learning right then and there. That's not in any article I read, but I just find that to be true in anything that I've been a part of. If somebody knows that you genuinely care about them, that they're going to learn from you, and they're going to do what you ask of them. And that's all there is to it. There's no secret. That's it right there. Yeah. Develop a relationship with these kids, with these boys, young men, young women, ladies. Let them know you care about them, and, I mean, it'll work wonders.
And I'll even go on as far as to say that as a young man and as a struggling boy, like, we crave for a relationship and somebody to care for us more than anything, but Absolutely. It's hard to be seen because the stigma that boys, you know, supposed to be tough and this and that, but, you know, it's hard to see that, and so we carry that. And, you know, as a struggling boy, you probably, you know, the acting out is probably because they crying out for some help and crying out for some attention and care. And like you said, when you're showing that and really showing that genuine care for them, man, you'll be surprised what you can. And this coming from just a coaching and us playing football. And you'll be surprised what you can get a young man to do for you when you show that you care and love them. They'll jump through a big wall for you. So,
and if you're you know, for the women who are educators, you know, this can be done, and you can bring in positive male role models into the classroom to kind of show these boys what it looks like, and, you know, or show them videos, audio, whatever it is. You can show them what a model male looks like, and the process it takes to get there.
In one of my classes in high school, it was our history class, and they didn't bring in historians, but they brought in people that had knowledge, and most of them were males. And I did notice my future student, or my fellow peers, that they understood what was being talked about more because they could connect with his story. So I feel like that bringing in role models would be very beneficial.
I think also the way this relates to all the part 2 of the book is pathways to re-engagement. The overarching idea is support. And so, like you just said, like if you show someone that you care about them and you show your students that you're interested in their lives, their well-being, and who they are outside of a classroom, I think that relates to all 6 pathways that they have. Support, guiding, reinforcing, adjusting, igniting, and empowering mostly. I think that last one just kind of sums it all up for us, especially this group and the way we're thinking and the direction we're going. I think the empowerment is the most useful tool in like re-engaging and creating a classroom atmosphere where boys do thrive instead of struggle.
Yeah, and that's I actually got that on one of my articles. Just like you said, that support, and one of my articles is believing in each and every student, and so that's big. Just believing in them. It's I would say it's easy, but it's hard to believe in a student sometimes because you got other students in the classroom, but just believing in every student, and just literally trying to wake up and be a teacher that literally, with intent, try to believe in every student. Because we might say that we believe in every student, but are we really believing in every student and trying to give every student a fair chance, And because when we actually do it with intent, those kids see it. They feel those vibes. They don't understand them, but they feel those vibes and they feel who actually cares. So when you're doing it with intent and really trying to show every student, and when you're trying to show every student, you might not hit one student, but because you're trying to show every student, that student you didn't hit sees that and says, okay, I still see that he cares or she cares. So believing in every student, that every word is the key word there.
I think the igniting part is a big thing. Trying to connect something that they're passionate about with what they're learning. I've seen, just with my younger brothers, one brother really loves science, and his teacher found a way in middle school to connect it with what he loves, and he was getting C's and D's in science. Now he's getting straight A's in science. So I feel like that can work very well with struggling boys.
And also overall, I think just showing our passion for our field as well. Like when you said, when you have passion for something, it shines through, and all the students see that, whether or not they feel it necessarily from you personally. They see the effort that you put in. So I think that if you give effort, I think you're going to get that back as well from your students.
It's got to mean something to you. If it means something to you, it'll show one way or another.